Norma Jeane Mortensen, who would later become one of the most iconic and beloved actresses in Hollywood history, was born on June 1, 1926, in Los Angeles, California. Her mother, Gladys Pearl Baker, worked as a film negative cutter at Consolidated Film Industries, while her father, Charles Stanley Gifford, was an employee at the same company. However, the identity of Norma Jeane's biological father has been the subject of much speculation, as Gifford left Gladys before Norma Jeane was born, and his paternity was never legally acknowledged. The early years of Norma Jeane's life were marked by a series of emotional and financial struggles that would shape her character and inform her eventual rise to stardom as Marilyn Monroe. Gladys was a single mother who faced numerous challenges, including mental health issues and unstable living conditions. Unable to provide a stable home for her young daughter, Gladys placed Norma Jeane in the care of foster parents, Ida and Wayne Ballender, when she was just 2 weeks old. The Ballenders lived in Hawthorne, a small suburb of Los Angeles, where they raised Norma Jeane alongside their own children. During her time with the Ballenders, Norma Jeane experienced a relatively stable and loving environment, although she was acutely aware of her status as a foster child. She longed for a relationship with her mother, who visited her occasionally but was often absent due to work or hospitalizations for her mental health. This early sense of abandonment would remain with Norma Jeane throughout her life, fueling her desire for love and stability. In 1933, when Norma Jeane was 7 years old, her mother Gladys had saved enough money to buy a small house in Hollywood. This allowed her to reclaim her daughter from the Ballenders, and for a brief time, the two of them lived together. Unfortunately, Gladys was diagnosed with schizophrenia later that year and was institutionalized, leaving Norma Jeane without a stable home once more. Grace McKee, a family friend and co-worker of Gladys, was appointed as Norma Jeane's legal guardian. Grace and her husband, Doc Goddard, took Norma Jeane into their home, where she was introduced to the world of Hollywood glamour. Grace was enamored with the film industry, and she shared this passion with Norma Jeane, often taking her to movie sets and exposing her to the excitement and allure of the silver screen. These experiences would inspire Norma Jeane's dreams of becoming an actress. However, the stability provided by the Goddards was short-lived. In 1935, Grace was diagnosed with tuberculosis and moved to Arizona for treatment, leaving Norma Jeane in the care of her husband, Doc. Unable to cope with the responsibility of raising Norma Jeane on his own, Doc sent her back to live at the Los Angeles Orphans Home Society. This marked a particularly difficult period in Norma Jeane's life. She struggled with feelings of abandonment and loneliness, as well as the stigma of being an orphan. Despite these emotional hardships, she found solace in her friendships with other children at the orphanage and excelled academically, earning top grades and demonstrating a talent for writing and storytelling. Over the next few years, Norma Jeane lived with various foster families, each offering a temporary sense of stability and affection. At the age of 11, she was placed in the care of Anna Lower, a maternal figure who would become one of the most significant influences in her life. Anna provided Norma Jeane with a nurturing environment and encouraged her artistic pursuits, fostering her love for literature, writing, and the arts. Under Anna's guidance, Norma Jeane's confidence grew, and she began to envision a future beyond the limitations of her difficult childhood. During her time with Anna Lower, Norma Jeane attended Emerson Junior High School, where she continued to excel academically and was well liked by her peers. However, the relative stability of this period was disrupted when Anna was diagnosed with a serious illness that required long-term care. Once again, Norma Jeane was forced to leave a loving home and return to a life of uncertainty. In 1941, at the age of 15, Norma Jeane moved in with her great-aunt, Olive Brunings, and her family in Van Nuys, a suburb of Los Angeles. This arrangement was short-lived, as Norma Jeane's great-uncle was accused of inappropriate behavior towards her. Grace McKee, who had since recovered from her illness and returned to Los Angeles, quickly intervened and placed Norma Jeane with another family, the Atkinsons. While living with the Atkinsons, Norma Jeane attended Van Nuys High School, where she was once again a strong student and well regarded by her classmates. However, her newfound stability was threatened when the Atkinsons decided to move to West Virginia, leaving Norma Jeane without a place to live. To avoid a return to the orphanage, Grace arranged for her to marry James Doherty, a 21-year-old neighbor who had recently joined the Merchant Marine. Norma Jeane and James Doherty were married on June 19, 1942, just 2 weeks after her 16th birthday. For a time, her marriage to Doherty provided a sense of security and normalcy, as she settled into her role as a housewife. When her husband was deployed overseas, Norma Jeane took on a variety of jobs to support herself, including working in a munitions factory and modeling for a local photographer. It was during this period that Norma Jeane began to develop her iconic persona. She dyed her hair blonde, experimented with makeup, and refined her personal style, drawing inspiration from the glamorous actresses she had admired as a child. As her confidence grew, so did her aspirations. She decided to pursue a career in modeling and acting, a decision that would ultimately lead her to adopt the name Marilyn Monroe. Norma Jeane's marriage to Doherty was strained by her ambitions and his extended absences due to his military service. When he returned from the war in 1946, the couple's relationship began to deteriorate, as Doherty wanted a traditional wife and Norma Jeane yearned for a career in the spotlight. The couple divorced in 1947, and Norma Jeane set out on her own, determined to succeed in Hollywood. The early years of Norma Jeane Mortenson's life were marked by a series of challenges and upheavals. From her unstable home life to the emotional turmoil of her mother's mental illness, Norma Jeane faced adversity at every turn. Yet, through her resilience and determination, she managed to rise above her circumstances, using her experiences as a foundation for the extraordinary career that lay ahead. In the chapters to come, we will explore Marilyn Monroe's meteoric rise to fame, delving into her iconic film roles, her relationships with some of Hollywood's most influential figures, and her struggles with the pressures of fame and public scrutiny. Through this journey, we aim to gain a deeper understanding of the woman behind the legend, shedding light on the complexity and vulnerability that made Marilyn Monroe a beloved and enduring icon.